15 minutes past 9 here on the Radio Wammo Breakfast.
You're listening to the Radio Wammo Breakfast, only on Kiwi.
And very good to have my next two guests in the Kiwi studio, Emma Hart with a new book called Not Safe for Work, and David Haywood, New Zealand Reserve Bank Annual is the name of his book. Hello to you both.
Hi.
Hi.
Public address bloggers. Gosh, I think I've collected the full set.
Yes, so we're actually thinking of having a pack of playing cards made up.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
most wanted, you know.
Yes.
Really nice to see you both. You both come up from Christchurch as well, on a bit of a junket.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we're doing a book tour. We started off launching our books in Parliament. Emma unofficially, because her book was banned from Parliament because of the cover. And then I went to Palmerston North because, of course,
I'm staring. Whose breasts am I staring at on the front of?
Not David's, mine.
Those are your breasts, Emma.
Those are my breasts. I can prove it.
They have no, that's fine. And you're saying this book was banned from Parliament?
Yeah, we had initially sort of planned to launch both books in the Great Hall in Parliament. And Grant Robertson very nicely was going to be our sort of official host. But all the usage of Parliament rooms have to be approved by the Speaker. So David did up a nice invitation with the covers of both books on it and sent it in to be approved, and they just freaked out. And there's no way we can...
What? Just based on the cover? I mean, it's not that. I mean, it's not that risky, really. I mean, it's just it seems worse, eh?
in this case, it's quite reasonable to judge a book by its cover, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Well, Emma, tell us about the book. What is it about?
It's mostly a collection of my columns from Public Address with a bunch of extra stuff in it as well, dealing mostly with sex, internet censorship, sexual politics, and sort of incidentally, the brain tumour I discovered I had while I was writing it.
Recently? How recently?
I got out of hospital in October, I think.
Wow. You're a survivor. Goodness.
Yeah. Big ups to medical science.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Wow. Brain surgery?
Brain surgery. Yep.
Full on. Holy heck, that's a life experience.
It was, and it was actually quite sort of a useful kick in the bum to, because initially I was going blind in my right eye because the tumour was pressing on my optic nerve. And they thought it was multiple sclerosis. Yeah. So actually discovering that it was just a tumour and they could take it out was kind of a relief at that point. But, one of those experiences that makes you go, well... So
kind of the book starts off as one thing and then at some point during the book it goes on another journey. Yeah, well it has... I mean, I did columns as I went through sort of the whole process of going to my optometrist, which I absolutely hate. And discovering that we had this quite serious problem, and then, up until just before I went into hospital. Mm. Your optometrist, and obviously because you were going blind in that eye, but you just thought that was just getting older, aging, getting old. Things are falling apart, But, no, turned out to be a reasonably sort of. Wow. Issue. David, any tumours in the making of your book?
No, my book's, Emma's representing the sort of cerebral side of public address, and no, my book is completely, there's basically nothing educational or informative in the whole thing.
It's quite informative.
Oh, yeah, in a certain way, perhaps. Yeah, it's essentially a children's annual, although most certainly not actually for actual children.
Don't give it to children.
Yeah.
At least not children who can read.
It does look like it is formatted like the cover and everything. It is like one of those classic, sort of 1950s, 60s type.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, so 59 to 63, something like that. Yeah. So it's a bit like the Thunderbirds annual or the Rupert the Bear annual, if you're a Rupert the Bear fan, except that instead of having these sort of superhero type characters, you have Alan Bollard as the main character all the way through the book. So it's all illustrated and everything. Well, I mean, when I say superhero, don't know if I personally think that Alan Bollard is a superhero, but I think he's a hero, and I think the jury's still out on his superhuman powers. He may have them.
Do his friends call him Elbow? I would if I knew him.
Yeah, no, I don't know. As far as I know, I actually, at the parliamentary book launch, the assistant governor of the Reserve Bank turned up, Don Abel, and gave a wee speech and told me that
they've all got madmen type names, haven't they? Alan and Don. You know.
Yeah, no, they're good, solid. They're good, I suppose. Possibly that wasn't their original names. Maybe they're sort of given stage names that sound very reassuring and solid. And fiscally responsible,
and look good in signatures on
banknotes. Yeah, absolutely.
So he turned up.
Yeah, he did, and he gave a wee speech. And the Herald actually sent my book to Alan Bollard to review for the Herald on Sunday, and it was a fairly short review that he gave. But Don Abel told me that they were having a governor's meeting, and Dr. Bollard walked in and threw my book on the table and said, "What do you make of this?" And then they all sat around laughing for the whole rest of the governor's meeting, with apparently tears streaming down their face, he told me, and not getting any work done. So, if the economy collapses, it's probably due to that half hour of lost work time at the Reserve Bank.
I like this. There's a section I've just opened to it. It says here, "Hey kids, could you do Bollard's job? 5 fantastic ways to have fantastic fun by being Bollard." Could kids do his job? Could they? Is his job involved just throwing darts at a board? How it works.
Well, yeah, certain aspects of his job they could probably do. I'm sure they could sign the banknotes. That would be great. In fact, you could have, that could. I mean, if he did school visits or something like that, that would be quite nice for him to bring in some blank banknotes for all the kids to sign.
Yeah, that must be an enormous ego trip, having all this money out there with your signature on it.
Yeah,
I know. I remember talking to Brash as a politician, and there were still notes in circulation that had his signature on it, and he gave it a little chuckle. He was very chuffed about it. Yeah,
it's a shame they don't put their pictures on the notes as well. That would be the ultimate ego trip, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, the book covers a whole bunch of a history of the Reserve Bank, possibly not the
authorised
history, sort of slightly unauthorised history,
right?
And and so it would certainly be interesting to see some of those characters still popping up on the banknotes.
Yeah. Hey Emma, is David a bit of an unorganised sort of chap? Because I've noticed on this junket that you guys have been going on, you're the one who've been sort of organising his itinerary and making sure he's in the right places at the right time.
I've been publicising his itinerary, but he actually is phenomenally organised. The guy really is still an energy engineer at heart.
Yeah.
I think, despite the banjo picking and the hysterical writing that makes people must look at you funny now.
Yeah. Yes, they do. Yeah, and particularly making people at these book launches, and they sort of ask. They ask the question, how do you think of these things? Because there's some quite strange stuff about, quite absurdist sort of humour with, I really probably can't say it on the radio, but there's a number of unusual things, sort of various plot points where, UFOs appear and things like that are quite surprising in the scheme of things. So yeah, but
is the book a conversation with yourself?
Well, I suppose to a certain extent, but no. Really, it's very much follows the children's annual thing. So it does have, it has you see there's a board game in the middle of it, and there's sort of the history section. There's a sex advice column. All those sort of standard children's annual features.
If you had to review Emma's book, what would you say in a few sentences?
Well, I would certainly make a comment on her prose style, because I think she's an excellent writer. And it's certainly the sort of politics of bisexuality and things like that. That's something that I'd never really thought of before.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an interesting insight. They seem to be a very invisible group, the bisexuals, I've noticed. Well, no, I haven't noticed, actually, because they're so invisible.
Yeah.
We're ninjas. We are the ninjas of the gay agenda. You're not supposed to be able to spot us. We're like the undercover agents.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite eye-opening. I think I've read it twice. And I thoroughly recommend that everyone else should buy it and read it twice as well.
2 times. Well, Emma, if you had to review the Reserve Bank Annual, what would you say?
It's all right. The book is fabulous. The book is absolutely fabulous, but David is fine and a lot saner than you might think if you'd read it. I can see people becoming quite seriously worried about, his state of health, his wife. No, it's fabulous. It's the funniest thing I've read in ages. And I read the introduction aloud at the book launches.
Yeah.
And discovered then that it is fabulous prose for reading aloud. It's quite sort of rhythmic and there's nice sentence structure.
We could turn it into a radio drama of sorts.
Yes,
perhaps.
you possibly could, yeah.
In fact, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'd be up for that.
I was going to say, there was some pre-ordering going on. Before we did the official launch, we had it was available on the website, and a bunch of people bought it. And somebody from she described herself as working in the mental health sector, wrote to me and said, apparently quite seriously, asked if I was bipolar. She said she worked with a lot of bipolar people, and she just thought that I might be, and I had to disappoint her.
Well, that's a few more clues as to the contents of the book. You can order them through Public Address. Just go to publicaddress.net and you'll follow the links there to the books section. Emma Hart and David Haywood, thanks so much. Cheers.
Pleasure.